This is Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Our weekly chat with the Gibson Southern Titan head football coach is brought to you by these underwriting sponsors: A&B Contracting, A&T Concrete Supply, AgriGold, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Hearts Gone Wild, Consolidated Grain and Barge, Cox Family Eye Care, Deaconess Women's Hospital, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Freudenberg Mini Mart, Hobstadt Summerfest Incorporated, in memory of Darwin and Eric Kalis, Jackson Seed Service, JL Farm Equipment, Kiesel Enterprises, Kissel Farms, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Lowry Company, Marshall Disposal, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, MyTech Systems, Pole Concrete Construction, Princeton Auto Part, Pro Rehab, Reinbrecht Homes, Rusty Reeves FC Tucker MD Realtors, Sandy's Pizza, Shoe Carnival, South Gibson Grain, T. Konya Distributing, 10 Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, Total Seed Solutions, United Fidelity Bank, VFW Post 2714, Vertical Tile, and by Ziliak Enterprises. Titans football with head coach Nick Hart starts now on 89.1 The Bash.
Welcome to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach Nick Hart. And coach, your Titans are now 7-0 overall and 5-0 in the Pocket Athletic Conference play after defeating Pike Central on homecoming Friday night. So let's take a look at the scoring plays and some of the team and individual stats from the ball game. Starting right off in the first quarter, 11 minutes, 44 seconds remaining in the first, Dylan Stefanich runs it in from 43 yards out. Point after kick by Chandler McKee is good. Titans on top 7-0. Then with 7:40 remaining in the first quarter, Titans score again here. Dylan Stefanich runs it in from 5 yards out. Point after kick by Chandler McKee is no good. 13-0, Titans on top. Then with 4 minutes remaining in the first quarter, Isaac Sellers throws a touchdown pass to Wes Obermeyer for 44 yards. The point after kick for Chandler McKee is good. 20-0, Titans on top after one quarter. Starting off here in the second quarter with 11:25 remaining before half, Isaac Sellers completed a pass to Wes Obermeyer for 12 yards. The two-point conversion play, Bailey Neufelder hit Seth Kissel with a pass to make it 28-0, Titans on top. Then with 10:25 remaining before halftime, Isaac Sellers ran it in from 3 yards out. The point after kick by Chandler McKee is good. 35-0, Titans on top. With 8:05 remaining in the quarter, Dylan Stefanich ran it in from 21 yards out. Point after kick by Chandler McKee is good. 42-0, Titans on top. With 6:41 remaining in the second quarter, Isaac Sellers completed a pass to Nick Maurer for 15 yards. Chandler McKee kick is good. 49-0, the Titans on top. With 5:01 remaining in the second quarter, Isaac Sellers completed a pass to Chandler McKee for 8 yards. Chandler McKee's kick is good. 56-0, the Titans on top. And with 2:33 remaining before halftime, Dylan Stefanich runs it in from 3 yards out. The point after kick by Chandler McKee is good. That led us to the halftime score of 63-0 in the homecoming ball game. Then in the third quarter, Pike Central finally gets on the board with 2:50 remaining in that quarter. Colton O'Neill runs it in from 15 yards out. The point after kick by Colton White is good. 63-7, Titans on top after 3 quarters of play. Then in the final frame, Ben Butler ran it in from 4 yards out. The point after kick by Bryce Williams was blocked, and that leads us to the final score, 69-7. The Titans win homecoming and defeat PAC foe Pike Central Chargers.
You know, I was very proud of the way we came out. I thought we were very efficient on both sides of the ball. Kids played with a lot of energy. And, you know, we had a great week of practice leading up to that game, which, you know, is going to put you in the best position possible to play well on a Friday night. So, you know, very, very happy with the way that we came out and played.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the team statistics from Friday night. First off, total offense here. Pike Central had 143 yards of offense, while Gibson Southern, your Titans, had 502. Half the mark there. I mean, a little bit longer playing time, and you could have got to 1,000.
Yeah, and I think what's really impressive about that is, with the running clock in the second half, a lot of that was done in the first half. So I just thought we were, and especially with weather conditions, and it was raining, there at the early part of the game, and I still thought we were very, very efficient. We took care of the football, just in our defense, holding them to that yardage. They scored 47 points the week before, and they've put up a lot of big numbers this year offensively. So I thought our defense played phenomenal. Well,
and you've already stolen one of my thoughts for later down the road again. So, I'm going to have to give you some credit for that. You're thinking that's why I'm retired and behind the mic now. But we'll talk about those weather thoughts a little bit more here in just a little bit. But passing yardage, 70 yards for Pike Central, 173 for your Titans. Rushing yardage was 73 for Pike Central, 329 for the Titans. Penalties, Pike Central had 3 for 25 yards. Your Titans had 4 for 30 yards. Now, here's where I was going to talk the weather. I mean, Pike Central had 2 turnovers. They had a fumble and an interception. Your Titans had 0 turnovers. And right after that first touchdown score of the ball game, I mean, it just opened up and poured. Mm-hmm. So considering how wet the field condition could be, and I know it's on turf, and that's a beautiful thing to be able to have, but yet that can still be slick. The balls can be slick. It can still fumble around, fall out of your hands. It did not.
No, it didn't. And, we still purposely threw it around there, even when it was pouring rain and stuff, because, you never know what the weather conditions are going to be in the playoffs. So it was great work for us, moving forward to get to play in those conditions and to play really well in those conditions, too. I thought was a great sign for us, moving forward in the playoffs. And, you talk about taking care of the football, knock on wood. We've got 3 turnovers through 7 games, which is, you're setting yourself up to be really successful when you take care of the football like that.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the individual statistics now. Passing-wise, Isaac Sellers, he's breaking out the Nintendo gems. It's 12 for 14 for 149 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yes, I know he had 2 incompletions, but you just really can't get any better than that.
No, you can't. And again, in those conditions, it's great to see that we can still throw the football. And I thought he played phenomenal, and our receivers had great games as well.
Well, and Seth DeLong comes in there in the fourth quarter, and he was also 1 for 1 for 24 yards.
Yeah, great throw by Seth on 4th down, and Adam May, made a great catch there. Great hookup for freshman to freshman there in the fourth quarter.
Well, and since we're talking about the outstanding job that the quarterbacks did throwing the ball, let's talk about the receivers who have it takes quite a few things there. Blocking up front, number 1. Number 2, the throw has to be on target. Number 3, it's got to be caught. So let's talk about those receivers catching the passes. Wes Obermeyer had 3 receptions, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dawson Witt had 2 receptions, 35 yards. Chandler McKee had 3 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. Adam May, who you mentioned earlier, he had 1 reception for 24 yards. Nick Maurer had 2 receptions for 20 yards and a touchdown. Seth Kissel had a reception for 6 yards. Caleb Carpenter also had a reception in the ball game. So as I'm looking at it, 7 guys caught passes. So it's not like you're throwing to one guy. 7 guys caught passes in this ball game to have your team go, 13 for 15?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that speaks a lot about, the weapons that we have. That, it wasn't, we completed 13 passes. It wasn't one guy catching 8 or 9. It was, like you said, a big group of guys, and just thought they did a great job of getting open and catching it and then making plays afterwards.
All right, so let's take a look at the ground game here. Dylan Stefanich, 15 carries, 176 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's a huge night right there.
It is a huge half.
That's true. I say night. I mean, he only played 2 quarters.
Yeah, great job. He did a great job. But I think, the key was we really kept him clean to that second and third level, and then he was able to do, stuff with the football afterwards. So offensive line played phenomenal on Friday night, but, a huge, huge night for Dylan as well.
Well, Isaac Sellers had 7 carries for 77 yards and 1 touchdown. Mitchell Spindler, the freshman, comes in. He's got 6 carries for 43 yards. Ben Butler, also a freshman, comes in with 4 carries for 17 yards and 1 touchdown. Seth DeLong had 1 carry for 8 yards. Chandler McKee had 1 carry for 7 yards. Landon Meyer had 1 carry for 1 yard. So, again, 6 guys touching, 7 touching the football again.
Yeah, it's one of the great things whenever you can, get a lead and you get some of the young guys in and get them varsity Friday night experience. It's great to let their hard work pay off, and it'll pay off, in the future if they have that Friday night experience.
All right, so let's go over now to the defensive side of the football where, as you had mentioned earlier, the fact that Pike Central, they have weapons. I mean, if you watch the game, you're able to see that they have some skilled players with some abilities. Your defense just took them out of everything that they wanted to do. And speaking of the defense, I mean, Devin Montgomery, I want to call him Mike Singletary wearing that number 50 out there. But, he had 6 tackles, 4 solo, 2 assists, 1 tackle for loss. Trace Matzel also had 6 tackles, 2 solo, and 4 assists. Cooper Willis had 5 tackles, 4 solo, 1 assist, and 3 tackles for loss. Landon Meyer had 4 tackles, 3 solo, and an assist. Bo Lamy had 4 tackles, 3 solo, and an assist. Luke Miller with 4 tackles, 2 solo, and 2 assists. Garrett Martin had 4 tackles, 2 solo, 2 assists. And the list just goes on. I just listed 7 guys right there on the defensive side of the football where nobody was in on more than 6 tackles, yet you dominated that side of the football all night long.
Yeah, and we talked about, you go back to the Princeton game, we had big tackle numbers because we couldn't get off the field, caused a lot of 3 and outs on Friday night, and a lot of incompletions, and that brings your tackle numbers down. So I thought our defense played phenomenal. Owens popped 1 on us for 20 or 25 yards, but you take away that play, and I really thought our defense kept them in check, and like you said, they have a lot of weapons, and was just very proud of the way that we played.
All right, so let's take a quick break here, Coach, and when we come back, we'll get your overall thoughts from Game 7 concerning the offense, defense, and special teams. But right now, we need to thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Tonight's show is brought to you by the following underwriting sponsors: A&B Contracting, Best One Tire, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Cox Family Eye Care, Freudenberg Mini Mart, Jackson Seed Service, Kissel Farms, Marshall Disposal, Pole Concrete Construction, Sandy's Pizza, T. Konya Distributing, United Fidelity Bank, and by Vertical Tile. You love sports. You're your team's ultimate fan. Why not turn that passion into the ultimate career? Enroll now in the brand new Sports Marketing and Media program at Wabash Valley College. Learn how to use digital video and other media to add to the fan experience, how to engage fans on social media, and how to create excitement by hosting events and promotions. Get off the sidelines and into the game. Find out more about the WVC Sports Marketing and Media program online at www.iecc.edu or by phone at 618-262-8641.
Thank you for tuning in to 89.1 The Bash for Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. So, Coach, let's start with your thoughts, first of all, of the offense from Week 7 against Pike Central.
Offensively, I thought our execution was really, really good. We had the weather conditions. They came out and kind of gave us some looks that we hadn't seen before. So we had to kind of adjust on the fly a little bit, and I thought our kids and coaches did a great job of adjusting on the fly to some of the stuff they were throwing at us. So just, overall, I thought we ran the ball very well. We threw the ball very well. Just a great night offensively for us. 63 points in the first half. Obviously, there's not a lot to critique. We defense helped set us up with some short fields, and offense was able to convert.
Well, and I think a big key, too, is simply the fact that your offense, yes, was able to put up 63 points, but they did it in a clean game.
Yeah.
I mean, not many yellow flags. I think there were 4 flags against the Titans. So being able to do all of that without getting caught for penalties. Notice I didn't say that they didn't commit any. I'm saying they didn't get caught for any.
And the ones we did have, We had a touchdown call back, but the kid turned. Chandler got a block in the back on that one. The kid kind of turned as Chandler was in mid-flight to make the block to try and spring us loose. So, just tough luck there. But for the most part, we played very clean, no penalties. Like we had already mentioned, no turnovers. Just thought our efficiency was very, very high.
Well, and as efficient and high-flying as your offense was on Friday night, the defense was just as efficient and high-flying. Let's get your overall thoughts on the defense.
I thought they were probably, if it's possible, more impressive than what the offense was because, Pike Central had given up some points to some teams, but they'd scored on pretty much everybody, and so that was a concern coming into the game. They have a lot of weapons. They get you spread out. We hadn't seen a spread offense in quite a while, and I thought our defense just did a very good job of answering the bell, and I was very impressed with the way our secondary played. I thought our front did a good job of keeping Owens in check, but very, very impressed with the way our secondary played, with the way that they've been able to throw the ball around.
Well, and as we talked with the weather on the offensive side of the football, all it takes is one slip, and then all of a sudden, Owens could have been gone with the speed that he possesses.
Yeah, and he popped that one, and we had great pursuit and got the angle and ran him down and made him line up and do it again. And he is a tremendous back. And for most of the night, we kept him very bottled up with our first group. So again, I was very, very impressed with the way our defense played.
All right, so let's go to the special teams where, again, I thought kickoffs, you had a great night on kickoffs. They stayed in their lanes, good coverage. Obviously, we had the one missed extra point, but they come back later. They had a high snap, and at that point in the ball game, Bailey Neufelder, I think, had more touchdown passes than Isaac.
Yeah, that was a great play by Bailey. On the fire call on the bad snap. And you're right, kickoff team, I was very proud of the way we played there. And again, our punt return team, we block a punt. We have a big punt return to set up a short field. So they did a great job on the night. So, special teams, I was very, very proud and happy with the way that we played on Friday.
And I just love watching Carpenter return kicks. I mean, the feeling that I get there in the booth, and as soon as I see a little spark out of him, and there's a little spunk to the way he's running the ball, I know he's going to have a heck of a return when I see that kind of a reaction come out of him.
Yeah, he's very dangerous back there, and we brought him over to the offensive side a little bit this week, and his package will kind of grow here as we get towards the playoffs and gearing up for the playoffs. He needs to touch the football a little bit more because he's very electric whenever he gets his hands on it.
All right, well, Coach, we need to thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. And when we come back, we will take a look around the Pocket Athletic Conference to wrap up Week 7 and get prepared for Week 8 as you are listening to 89.1 The Bash and Titans football with head coach Nick Hart.
You're listening to Titans Football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash, brought to you by these underwriting sponsors: A&T Concrete Supply, Carts Gone Wild, Daylight Farm Supply, Deaconess Women's Hospital, Obstadt Summerfest Incorporated, JL Farm Equipment, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Princeton Auto Park, Shoe Carnival, 10 Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, and by Ziliak Enterprises.
Whether you want to be home every night or travel the open road, truck driving is a career that can do that for you. The Commercial Truck Driving Certificate at Wabash Valley College allows individuals to become proficient in the operation of trucks and semi-trailers. This stepping stone allows you to test for the Illinois CDL and DOT certification. For more information, contact Wabash Valley College today at 618-262-8641 or visit iecc.edu/WVC.
Welcome back to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach of the Titans, Nick Hart. All right, Coach, let's talk Pocket Athletic Conference and looking at the scores from last Friday night. Of course, we just finished talking in the last couple of segments here how your Titans on homecoming defeated Pike Central 69-7. But how about this ball game? North Posey defeats Tell City 24-14.
Yeah, and obviously we'll talk more about Tell City as we move forward, but it was a great game as we watched it, scouting them out. a short game. It was one of those games. I think there was one completed pass in the game between the two teams. So it was a short game, and Tell City made some big plays to keep it close.
All right, and of course, South Spencer then defeated Forest Park 52-8. South Spencer, that ball club's coming alive as the weather cools off.
Yeah, we kind of called that one too. The weather cooling off, and they had a tough stretch there at the start of their schedule, and they're starting to get it rolling. And some of those athletes are really starting to make plays. Just seeing the box score in the Courier. The Rowan kid had like 5 carries for 150 yards or something. They're really starting to get it rolling, and like we said, they'll be a really, really tough team to play whenever the sectionals roll around.
All right, and of course, then the feature matchup on Friday night was at the Jungle, Heritage Hills. Southridge defeats Heritage Hills 29-17. That at one point too, that was a 5-point ball game at one time, and now of course it ended 29-17, a 12-point victory for Southridge.
Yeah, and again, this is just all from box score, but it was a 5-point ball game until very late. I think Southridge scored in the last minute of the game to really to make it a 2-score game. So back and forth game. Kind of a wild game, watching, Home Team Friday and stuff, a block punt for a touchdown, and, Heritage Hills got set up on a short field with a turnover, and so it was, kind of one of those wild and crazy games that kind of, stayed close, but, both teams have big plays on both sides.
All right, so let's take a look now at the standings. Your Gibson Southern Titans lead the way here, 5-0 in the conference, 7-0 overall. Southridge is also 5-0, 7-0. Which that'll lead up to the Week 9 matchup at Jack Jewell Field. Heritage Hills is 3-2 in the conference, 5-2 overall. North Posey is 3-3 in the conference, 4-3 overall. South Spencer is 3-3 now in the conference, 3-4 overall. Pike Central falls to 2-3 in the conference, 3-4 overall. Forest Park and Tell City are both 0-5 in conference play and 1-6 overall. So let's look ahead here to this coming Friday night, the first Friday in October, and we're going to start it off here, Forest Park at Heritage Hills. So right back there in the Jungle, Forest Park's going to have to go in. The Rangers are going to have to clean up the Jungle if they want to come out with a victory.
Yeah, and Heritage Hills with back-to-back losses probably going to be pretty ticked off and ready to play. So I think that they'll come in and take care of business.
All right, and of course, North Posey will be at Tecumseh.
Don't know much about Tecumseh, but as we always do, we'll be pulling for the Pocket Athletic Conference in a non-conference game there.
And then South Spencer will be at Boonville, Big 8 Conference. South Spencer, if it's a cool night, boy, I tell you what, root on the PAC.
Absolutely, and they're rolling. They're rolling, and I think they can continue to roll there. And hopefully get a big non-conference win for us.
Well, and then, of course, Southridge is at Pike Central. Pike Central needs to regroup this week and find themselves, but Southridge coming in after a big victory. You never know what happens after a ball game like that when you take on, when a team gets done facing your ball club or Heritage Hills or a Southridge, you just never know what's going to happen in the week after.
Well, and I'm sure Coach Buning, who's a phenomenal coach, will be preaching the same message we are because, kids aren't dumb, and you can see, if we both take care of business this week, the conference championship will be next week, and you got to take it one week at a time, and I'm sure he'll be preaching that as we are this week moving forward. So, they kind of have that in-between game there where, they're coming off a big win and there's a big game on the horizon. So, I'm sure he'll do a great job of keeping them dialed in and focused this week.
All right, and of course that leaves just one other game, which is your Titans heading to Tell City. So right now we have one more segment to go, which means it's time to get the listeners ready for Friday night as your team prepares to travel to Tell City for Pocket Athletic Conference action. But first, let's thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Tonight's show is brought to you by the following underwriting sponsors: AgriGold, Consolidated Grain and Barge, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, in memory of Eric and Darwin Kalis, Kiesel Enterprises, Lowry Company, MyTech Systems, Rainbrecht Homes, Pro Rehab, DFW Post 2714, Rusty Rivas FC Tucker MG Realtors, South Gibson Grain, and by Total Seed Solutions. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. The list of social media platforms continues to grow, and so too does the value of social media to businesses. The new Social Media Management Certificate program at Wabash Valley College prepares you for a career in social media or teaches you how to effectively use social media to grow your own business. From advertising and promotion to public relations and marketing, this certificate program teaches you the ins and outs of successful social media strategy. For more information, visit www.iecc.edu or call 618-262-8641 today.
Welcome back to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash, or you may be using the free app to access the show on your cell phone. So, Coach, week number 8, your Titans will be taking on Tell City in Pocket Athletic Conference play, and we will have all the action live right here on 89.1 The Bash with pregame at 6:45 p.m. Tell City will enter this contest with a record of 1-6 overall and 0-5 in conference play. So what do you expect to see from Tell City on offense?
Offensively, they kind of give you some different looks. It's a T for they'll go like double tight T. They'll break the T off and run some wing T stuff, and then they'll do some shotgun wing T stuff. A lot of jet sweep. They'll do a lot of overloads and try and get you out flanked for the jet sweep or the toss. So they got a good group of athletes back there at the back, and then they probably don't do as much misdirection as a lot of T formation or wing T teams typically use, but they do have it in there and they do show it. So in the double tight T formation, they're pretty much coming straight at you. When they get in the shotgun wing T stuff, they'll jet sweep, then they'll fake the jet sweep and give it to the back, or the quarterback will keep it. So they do a nice job of mixing it up.
Well, let's go now over to the defensive side. What do you expect to see Tell City try to do? And they're the marksmen, right?
Yes, the marksmen.
The marksmen. How are they going to try to get in their sights your high-powered offense?
Well, they're a 4-4 cover 3 team for the most part. They'll jump into cover 2 every once in a while, but most of the snaps, 4-4 cover 3, pretty basic, pretty standard across the board. With that, but their defensive line does a good job of causing some penetration and some havoc, and they're really, because they don't do a whole lot, they're very, very sound in the back end. So not a lot of blown coverages. They run their cover 3 very well.
All right, so let's look at the special teams for Tell City. What do you see in their kicking game, punting game, return games, and extra points?
Well, they had a big kickoff return for a touchdown against North Posey. And North Posey covered the kick very well. The kid just broke a couple tackles and made it happen. I think he actually ended up getting caught at like the 5, but it was a big kickoff return. When they kick off, they like to pooch and squib and kind of keep it away from the deep guy. So we got to make sure we do a good job of getting on the football in those situations. But they're very sound in their kicking game. Punting team's very good. They do a good job of covering those. So it'll be a good test for us on special teams this week to make sure we're doing everything fundamentally sound.
All right. So any thoughts from? We've discussed Tell City. That ball game 7:00 at Tell City. It is a Pocket Athletic Conference affair. But let's get in here talk a little bit about your JV and freshman ball clubs, as well as the 7th and 8th grade ball clubs, because they've had a tremendous season this year.
Well, our freshman team went to the Wrights Bowl this past Thursday and defeated Evansville Wrights 6-0. JV team fell at Heritage Hills 24-21 on a last-second field goal. And our 8th grade team was off, and 7th grade defeated Evansville North 48-0. So we got 2 wins over Evansville schools this week, which is always great. And JV, dug themselves in a little bit of hole in the jungle, but came back, fought back. Tied it up, and unfortunately, we lost that one late.
Well, and that's not something you see very often in a JV game, field goal attempts.
Yeah, it was 21-21, so both teams made all 3 of their extra points, and they were able to make a field goal at the end. So it was a great game back and forth.
All right, and of course, the one thing that everybody's probably waiting on here is for us to do a little talking about the sectional 32 coming up, and got that here, and we'll be able to take a quick glance at it. As looking at it here, Pike Central will take on Washington at Washington. Then, of course, on the other side of the bracket, let's take a look at it. There'll be Sullivan will be at Princeton. Now, that may be one heck of a ball game right there. I've heard Sullivan's been winning ball games again this year, and Princeton's caught fire since really they come out and I believe, as you put it, smack the Titans in the mouth.
Yeah, they really have. They're playing great football. Scored 65 points this past week, and Sullivan is on a roll. I think they've won 6 straight or 5 straight or something like that. So they're on a roll. They've only lost 1 game to Linton Stockton, who's a great football program. So that should be a great game.
And, of course, then a matchup of Big 8 schools. Vincennes Lincoln will be at Mount Vernon, and that makes up the other side of the bracket here. So the winner of Sullivan-Princeton will take on the winner of Lincoln and Mount Vernon. Now, we already mentioned Pike Central at Washington. Now, that just leaves 2 teams left, and if the listeners haven't figured out who the 2 teams are, the 2 heavyweights in the sectional play each other in round number 1, which I'm going to go on my soapbox for a little bit, Coach. You can sit back and have some fun. Let me do the ranting for you. And I don't even know if it's for you. But, of course, over here on this side of the river where I did all of my coaching time, you had to win so many games to get into playoffs. At one time, you had to win 6 games. Well, actually, it started out you had to win your conference first off. Then it went to 6 games, and you got at-large bids. And now they're down to 5 wins, and you get in. So, in other words, if you don't have 5 wins, your season's over. You don't have postseason play. Indiana has that right. Every sport, no matter which side of the river you're on, has a postseason, except in Illinois. If you don't win so many games, well, you're out. But in Indiana, everybody's in. But you don't seed them. You go through 9 ball games, and your ball club's done an outstanding job. Hey, and it's Memorial. They got to run through the SIAC where you're talking 4A and 5A schools. And these 2 clubs, you go through and you do everything that you're supposed to do, and you got to play each other first game. That just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's...
Did I rant long enough?
No, yeah, and it was a good one too. But I think when you look at it, it's with the 2 seasons that we've both had, it's a shame that somebody won't be playing after that first week. It really is. But looking at it from our football program standpoint, right now it is what it is, and it's not going to change before week 10. It is what it is, and our focus right now is, and I think this is a really cool part of the year for us because of what we have done in the regular season. Every game from this point forward is a championship game for us. We're continuing, this week, even at Tell City, this is a conference championship game for us. Then obviously if we take care of business, and next week is the conference championship game, the de facto conference championship game because we'll both be 8-0. And then, you start every time you play in the playoffs, it's a championship game. So we're to that point of the year where every single game, has, if it's not for a championship, at least has championship implications. And, it's a really cool part of the year. And I think that we're lucky in the fact that we kind of get to experience that championship atmosphere for a couple of weeks here before we get into the playoffs.
Well, and of course, I believe, as you just so eloquently put, Tell City's this week. That's where the focus must be.
Absolutely.
And then when that game's over, you'll have your focus purely on Southridge. And then when that game's over, Game 10, playoffs begin, win or go home. Kind of like put up or shut up, one of those type of deals. And just the way it works, you play Evansville Memorial, but here's the best part, you play them at home. So you've got them at home, and you've got a ball club that obviously can do it, ranked number 1 in the state. So it's a bottom line, whether you get them in the first week of the playoffs or you get them in the 3rd week for the championship game, makes no difference. You're going to have to go through them. So you might as well get it out and over, and let's move on.
That's right. They're a great program, very well coached. They know how to win in the postseason. Whether it was a first round, second round, or the championship game, As long as we were around, we were going to have to beat them at some point. So it is what it is. We'll play in week 1, but like you said, 100% of our focus this week is on Tell City. And in fact, even before seeding, if I was in charge of the IHSAA, and they unfortunately don't ask my opinion, but I would like to see our sectional announcements backed up to maybe like the Saturday after our final game, like that Saturday morning.
Well, that makes sense.
So that way, this isn't, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. We'd be talking about the conference championship, which is 100% where our focus is at this point. And, right now our sectional or our conference championship game is this week against Tell City.
Well, and honestly, I really don't even want to talk about it this week. But then again, as we had talked off air about this prior to the show, it's out there. So we might as well talk about it and get it out here. And then we don't have to talk about it again till after the Southridge game and getting that PAC conference championship.
And that's what, when we met with the team on Monday, I told them that, we talked about it because I knew it was out there, but, made sure that made it be known that our focus is 100% on Tell City. Next week will be 100% on Southridge. We want to win the conference championship, and that's what's in front of us right now. And the right after that Southridge game, our coaches will start pouring over the memorial tape, and our kids can too, and we'll start getting focused on those guys, and it'll take a great effort to beat them. But, that's down the road, and right now we're focused on the marksman.
Well, one game at a time, and right now it's week 8, traveling to Tell City, 7 p.m. ball game. We'll have it live here on 89.1 The Bash. Anything else you would like to add, Coach?
No, just I thought we had a great homecoming crowd, considering the weather, especially. Our fans are phenomenal, and we hope to see a lot of them at Tell City this week.
All right, Coach. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. So good luck on Friday down at Tell City. We'll be there as we'll have the game live on 89.1 The Bash. And remember that you can catch Titan football with head coach Nick Hart each week at 6 p.m. on Tuesday night for your inside look to Gibson Southern Titans football. But before we sign off, we would like to thank all of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash.
This has been Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. The show is made possible by our underwriting sponsors, Ziliak Enterprises, DFW Post 2714, Vertical Tile, Total Seed Solutions, Tin Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, T-Conia Distributing, United Fidelity Bank, South Gibson Grain, Shoe Carnival, Sandy's Pizza, Rusty Reeves FC Tucker MG Realtors, Reinbrecht Homes, Princeton Auto Park, Pro Rehab, Pole Concrete Construction, MyTech Systems, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Marshall Disposal, Lowry Company, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Kissel Farms, Kiesel Enterprises, JL Farm Equipment, Jackson Seed Service, in memory of Darwin and Eric Kalis, Hobstadt Summerfest Incorporated, Freudenberg Mini Mart, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Deaconess Women's Hospital, Daylight Farm Supply, Cox Family Eye Care, Consolidated Grain and Barge, Carts Gone Wild, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, AgriGold, A&T Concrete Supply, A&B Contracting, and by Wabash Valley College. Join us next week for Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash.